Let's get into the update then, with all the news circulating over the last 24 hours. And where else to start, Brian, but the daily Morgan Gibbs-white saga, the saga that never ends. Always continues to rumble on. Ty Marshall of the Manchester Evening News is now reporting Man City have no plans to re-enter the race to sign Tottenham target Morgan Gibbs-white. Nottingham Forest were hoping they would reignite their interest and rival Spurs for his signature. Obviously, that follows on, I think it was Alex Crook yesterday, reported that Forest hoped Gibbs-white would only leave them for a club of a certain stature, and they don't believe Tottenham meet that requirement. But with obviously Man City moving on to other targets, they signed Ryan Cherky. They've signed other players, Reinders as well, who can play in the midfield. They have obviously moved on from the Gibbs-white deal. They were reportedly interested in him about a year ago, but looks like they've moved on from him, which is obviously great news for us, because I think a lot of Spurs fans were I saw on social media getting worried, that Gibbs-white Man City, here we go, we're going to get dropped on us, is going to be an absolute dagger to the heart. But it seems as though there's an unlikely chance that's going to happen.
Yeah, I've said all along, every single rumour that comes out or tweet, if it hasn't been done by David Ornstein, I quite frankly don't believe it. There's been so much going on. With Man City, like you said, they've spent so much on midfielders. It makes no sense. Even if they did, does Morgan Gibbs-white in a World Cup year want to do like what Calvin Phillips did, what other players have done when they've gone there and just not get enough first-team football? So I'm never worried about Manchester City. And then when it comes to Marinakis saying he doesn't think we've offered to pay the release fee. Mm-hmm. It's as plain as simple. We have offered to pay the release fee. So it doesn't matter what he wants or what he says about other clubs. It's the ball's in our court now. It's now just got to go through the Premier League and everything. And I just hope this gets wrapped up sooner than later. But I'm still 100% confident that by the end of the window, or hopefully sooner rather than later, my man Morgan Gibbs-white is wearing a Spurs shirt.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird feeling at the moment, isn't it, of signing this deal? Because obviously we got the here we go, nearly 2 weeks ago now. So for all intents and purposes, you would have thought, we're already in our minds putting Gibbs-white in the team, in the squad. He's already a Tottenham player in a lot of Tottenham's minds. But this weird legal limbo, which I don't think I've ever encountered before as a football fan, let alone a Spurs fan, has really put us in this state of unknowing and limbo, because we don't know how it's going to play out, what's going on. Obviously, we assume with what we know, with the information we know, it should happen, because there's not really any reports still that the deal won't go through or the transfer won't happen and he doesn't want to come to Tottenham, all these different things. But it's just very little kind of news coming out in terms of any updates on this transfer, in terms of any updates on any legal proceedings. We're getting conflicting reports on the legal proceedings. Some are saying it's been issued to the Premier League. Some are saying they haven't even officially done it yet. So if they haven't officially done the legal proceedings, then I don't understand what's holding up the deal. If you understand, like, why hasn't it gone through if there hasn't been any official, unless it's just a threat, and that threat alone is enough for Tottenham to back away for the time being while they kind of talk to experts and all these kind of things. But it's a really weird and frustrating situation for us fans to be sitting here and waiting for all these updates. So when it comes to Gibbs-white, are you already thinking of him as a Tottenham player, or have you not quite made that mental process yet?
No, I'm there. Until the fat lady sings and it says it can't be done, I'm there. I see him playing against Burnley. Like you said, I don't think I have ever seen this in a transfer saga or a transfer negotiation. And if you had to pick all the teams, if someone said to you, Simeon, there's going to be a transfer saga, it's going to get messy and it's going to be like this, you'd say Tottenham immediately, wouldn't you? It's just we can't do things straightforward, simple, bang, without a little bit of drama. But it's gone too much. And like you said, we've never had to deal with this kind of thing before. And not just Tottenham, any fans. So with this legal battle or appeal, everyone is in a grey area here. No one knows what's going on. I'm going with no news is good news. And I said the Premier League haven't come out and even said, right, we are looking into this. This is going to take X, Y.
Yeah.
No one knows anything. We are the whole footballing world, but obviously mainly Spurs and Forest fans are in complete football wilderness and in limbo, and dealing with something we've never had to do before. But still, I don't think Spurs have done anything wrong. I still think he becomes a Spurs player, and I'm going to remain very, very positive about this until I'm told by Ornstein or Spurs or Forest official or the Premier League, deal dead, which I don't think we'll see.
Yeah, and it's a weird one as well. This is the second time we've heard as well that the selling club doesn't want to sell to Tottenham. We heard it with West Ham. Obviously, they did end up selling to Tottenham ahead of Chelsea, and they didn't want to wait for other bids. But the whole saga of that one, we heard they would rather sell to anyone else but Tottenham. Gibbs-white now, we're hearing, not Forest, who we don't even have a rivalry with. We've got nothing to do with them. They saying we don't want to sell. We want to sell to other teams, not Tottenham. We don't want to sell to Tottenham. Why are teams so reluctant to sell to us? What is it about us right now? Is it because we're our league position? People see us as in a state of weakness, and they don't want to be seen to giving us a helping hand to get back up to challenging for Europe. Is it because they see us as a direct rival because of where we were in the league? Is it because of the way Levy's previously dealt with these clubs with transfers? Okay, we hit the nail on the head. Is that your hypothesis?
Yeah, that's why I'm headbanging at a heavy metal concert right now. It's been said a number of times that dealing with him, either buying a player or selling a player, is a nightmare. And to Levy's credit, when it comes to selling them, like you look at Kevin Wimmer back in the day, how he got £18 million from Stoke, I will never know. How some of the deals he gets done for players that aren't up to the big standards, how he gets the fees, I don't know. But we all know when it's come to transfers and players we've lost and players we've brought in that have just normally been... How long does it normally take to get transfers done? I can remember Jan Vertonghen taking ages. I can remember people, even blowing Clinton and G took time to get over the line. There's just a problem when it comes to negotiations and Levy's tactics over the past. And he has rubbed people up the wrong way, hasn't he? There are chairmen that are like, oh my God, here we go, we're dealing with him. Or won't deal with him because of his negotiations. So I don't think it's anything to do with 17th. I don't think it's anything to do with rivals. Look at Chelsea and Arsenal. They are... rivals Premier League wise, they're all doing it. Transfers happens within the Premier League, but when it comes to us, and especially now that we're going for the star players of the teams, complications have come. Not this time with Levy, not this time with Gibbs-white. I don't think he's done anything wrong, but I think there is a problem there.
We don't think he's done anything wrong as Tottenham fans, but apparently Forest are reportedly not happy with how Tottenham have obviously conducted themselves in this transfer, going behind Forest's back to find out about the release clause and activate it, and basically trying to poach their best player right under their noses. And I can understand their unhappiness, but I don't understand outrage about wrongdoing, because I don't think there has been much wrongdoing. Or put it this way, I don't think we've done anything that any other club wouldn't do or wouldn't do under the circumstances. I think we've found out about release clause, which an agent has told us, and we've activated it. Now, I understand that Forest wanted to keep it discreet and they didn't want other clubs to know about it, and it was between the club and the player, and basically they had an agreement with Gibbs-white, if anyone comes in for 60 million, we'll accept it, but we're not going to reveal this fee because we I guess want to get more money out of them, or we think you might be worth more, but 60 million is a figure which, if they bid, we'll agree to you, knowing you're an ambitious player, that you can leave. But at the end of the day, if any other club knew about this release clause, they would have acted on it, and we're the ones who found out, or we got told, and we acted on it. We haven't done anything like immoral or anything like that, or bad. It's just this is just the name of the game, isn't it? This is just how the game's played, and Forest have every right to be not happy about the fact that we've reactivated it, but not with us. With they can be frustrated with the circumstance, but it's like when if your partner cheats on you and you blame the person they cheated on for it. You know what I mean? Yep. It's the person. It's your partner. It's their fault. That's who you should be angry at. So them being angry at Tottenham, I feel like is a bit misplaced.
It is, but simply, if you, in all honesty, if we look at it as well, if I had said to you, forget the release fee, forget what like we did. If I had said to you a couple of months ago, what would your starting offer be for Morgan Gibbs-white? Where would you be?
Starting offer, I would have been around 60. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's an out of the blue number. Whether people value him that highly, like I do, or they think it's a waste of money, for the Premier League player who was on the short list of the Premier League Players of the Year, who's got into the England squad, 60 million now is kind of the average transfer price for a Premier League player, isn't it? A very good Premier League player. So it wasn't like some really weird and obscure transfer release fee. It's bang on 60 million. Maybe because Man City were offering more, they're annoyed. But 60 million, I think, would have been a fair starting point anyway. So also, if the agent knows, the player knows, and the club knows, is it a secret anymore? Is
Not
it really
anymore. Yeah.
You know, it is a secret when three people know it, and especially with the agents. It's how football works nowadays. Maybe the transfer rules, like the Bosman change, football's evolved. The way transfers are handled, maybe there needs to be a change in transfer regulations or whatever. But we've bid £60 million. How we found out, or if we found out, is up in the air. But I think 60 million is a fair price anyway.
Yeah, I agree. But I guess we'll have to wait and see as this transfer continues rumbling on. It's just quite ironic. The one time we actually pay the money put the money down, like the one time we do it, this happens. And are you worried that's going to make Levy put off Levy ever putting the money down again?
Don't. He's just started doing it, or Charrington. Listen, you got to remember the very fact that he put it down is quite different, isn't it?
We have to all just try and tell Levy, look, I know this happened, but this doesn't usually happen. It usually goes smoother than this, Levy. I promise you. Please continue to do this. It does go smoother than usually.
We need to get one of the Men in Black, the nebulizer.
Well, exactly. He just remembers, all he remembers is the bid being accepted and him being a Tottenham player. Exactly. He doesn't have to remember this whole saga.
Exactly. We'll just wipe his memory of the 2 weeks.
Brilliant. All right, next transfer we're going to talk about is a very odd transfer link that came out yesterday. This is from AS in Spain, talking about Rodrygo. That according to Ed Burgess in Spain, AS says Tottenham have entered the race for Rodrygo, saying that due to the new investment in the club, Spurs were willing to really push the boat out and try and get Rodrygo in. Thomas Frank's a big fan of the player. However, today Florian Plettenberg gave an update saying Rodrygo is not a target for Tottenham, and any reports that Tottenham have entered the race are wide of the mark. AS in Spain are not notoriously reliable, I have to say. They're much like a tabloid, The Sun, Daily Mail, where they'll post these rumours with very little substance, and they'll basically just blow away in the wind and everyone forget about them. I feel like this is one of those. Rodrygo to Tottenham, was anyone really believing that?
Joe, I had all my. I thought the 12-year Gareth Bale special relationship was finally kicking into gear. I thought it was finally going to start bearing fruit. There was no chance. It was dismissed as quick as it was put up, and I have to say the reaction to the link on Spurs Twitter was pretty much, no, we're not. Let's move on. It's just one of those out of the air that I don't think there's any chance of this even materialising into like talks or anything. This is just BS.
Yeah, I just looked at that rumour and I just laughed. Like, I don't know who believes that or who believes we're going to be anywhere near that, especially as well with other clubs like Liverpool, Arsenal, Bayern Munich, I think, all interested and very seriously interested. This guy's got the world at his feet. Not to say that I wouldn't love him at Tottenham, or I think he's too big for Tottenham or anything like that. I just think right now that we're, as much as I'm excited about the new project with Frank and all this stuff, we are a team that finished 17th last year. But I understand. Look, you're talking to a guy who completely understands why and all these different things, and I think it's not really representative of what strong position we are currently in the squad and all these different things. But Rodrygo, he's not going to be looking into all that. He's just going to see the league position. He's going to see Tottenham 17th. They're a joke. I ain't joining them. I'm looking for teams that are going to be seriously challenging for league titles and Champions Leagues. He's coming because he's not getting enough game time at Madrid and he wants to be a superstar at a big team. He's not coming to join Tottenham. And we're not going to ever financially compete with Liverpool and Arsenal for Rodrygo. We're never going to pay what it's going to cost, like the 90, 100 million potentially. Plus, he's probably going to want superstar 300 grand a week wages, all this kind of stuff. The big thing in the report, which also made me laugh, was Tottenham want him, but they don't want to overpay. It's like, what is this report? Sorry, what are we going to try and get him for 45 million? Is that what they're trying to suggest? I mean, it's always a nonsense, ridiculous report. It was never ever realistic or ever going to happen. And if you're getting excited, I'm sorry. You got excited over nothing.
Yeah, but like you said as well, I think obviously players like Rodrygo want to leave clubs for regular Champions League football, like yearly guaranteed Champions League football. And at the moment where we are, we can't offer it. Yes, we're in it this year. Can Spurs be assured Champions League football next season? No, we can't. No, we can't. So players like this that will demand the huge fees and wages, we're not going to compete wages unless this takeover goes through. But yeah, I just can't see it because he's going to want regular Champions League football, isn't he?
Absolutely. He ain't coming to Tottenham. That's for sure. I can guarantee everyone that. All right, next story we're going to be talking about is Yoane Wissa. This one's fairly interesting because Sammy Mockbell reported yesterday he has left the Brentford pre-season training camp early due to the speculation about his future, which has led a lot of clubs on alert and a lot of clubs reportedly accelerating their interest in him. According to Graham Bailey of TBR Football, Brentford have rejected a 30 million opening offer from Tottenham for the striker Yoane Wissa. Ben Jacobs reporting Spurs are keen and in talks with Wissa, but Newcastle are set to make a formal bid for Yoane Wissa, believed to be in excess of 30 million. Brentford want 50 plus, and David Ornstein, I think, reported yesterday Newcastle did have a bid rejected. I think it was 25 million plus add-ons for Yoane Wissa. So a few people now reporting that Tottenham very seriously interested. Obviously, we heard about this interest a few weeks ago. This was obviously before we signed Kudus and potentially Gibbs-white, had them through the door. For you, Wissa, right now we have Solanke Richarlison. Richarlison was left out the squad for the game against Reading on the weekend, led to a lot of speculation about his future. Frank said they're just building him up and he's set to play on Saturday. For you, is Wissa one that you would happily replace Richarlison with? Do you think this is a deal we're seriously wanting to do? And are Brentford going to stick to their guns with that 50 million price tag?
First of all, I think Wissa has split a lot of opinion when this has come up. People are calling it a sideways step. Some people are saying, yep, it's definitely an improvement on what we got. And some are just like, no thanks. I would love him at Spurs. I'd love it. If we look at Spurs right now, and should we say Richarlison is going, or should he stay and we're going to have a third striker maybe because of Richarlison's injuries? He comes in knowing Thomas Frank, obviously knows London, had a very good season last season, has got Champions League football. I've seen a lot of people, obviously last year's contract, 28, he's going to be too much money. I think we as a Spurs fan base, and we keep thinking about this resale value. Will he have resale value? We need to stop thinking that way because we need players to come in now to help the young team we're assembling. And I think he definitely brings something that both Richarlison and Solanke cannot bring or do not have to their game, shall I say. Newcastle look very, very eager to get him, don't they? And you would have thought maybe London and Frank would have been the draw for him. But apparently he's come out and said he's actually favouring Newcastle now. So I could see him at Newcastle, but if he came to Tottenham, it'd be a welcome addition for me.
Yeah, I think obviously he's had a really great season last season. What was it, 19 Premier League goals.
Yep.
Frank really used him to the best of his ability. I think he offers something different to Solanke. I think he's been getting better and better each year in the Premier League. I think he's a good player. I think I'm worried that 19 goal season last season is an outlier rather than something to expect from him regularly. I think he's more of a 10 goal a season striker rather than a 21, in my opinion, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it still makes him a good striker, but I don't think this is a guy who's going to be regularly getting 20 goals, put it that way. So I wouldn't expect that from him, albeit maybe he has become that. I just kind of doubt it. When I watch him play, I think he's very good at, like, when he's running in behind, he's throwing goal, he's got little time to think about things, quick finishes, good finishes one-on-one. I don't think he's like a top class striker. I think maybe if you think because he got 20 goals, this guy is going to take us to the next level. I don't think that, but I don't think we need someone in the backup striker role to be that. I think Solanke's a very good striker. I think we yet to see the best of him in a Tottenham shirt. I think we're going to see more from him next season. I think he offers different qualities to Solanke. I think between them, they can both be getting a good number of goals. I think Solanke's hold-up play with Wissa's running in behind will complement each other really well. However, I wouldn't pay really over 30 for him, to be honest.
I'm at that level with you.
Yeah, I think if you're looking to pay over that amount, you're probably better off going for maybe a younger player who's got maybe more of his prime ahead of him, potentially, rather than someone who's... Look, it's okay buying a 29-year-old, but if you're buying someone at that age, you're buying it for the short term and probably not, for the next 2 years or so. So I think when you're talking about 50 million, that has to be for more long-term investments or players who are ready to play but can be here for a while. Wissa in a couple of years might be looking to move on at 31, 32. Like, is he really going to be still playing for us at that age? I don't know, but that's not a problem. But again, if it's going to be this short-term solution as a backup to Solanke, between 30 to 35 at a push is my limit. I think anywhere near 40, I don't know if it's a good deal to do.
Yeah, I'm completely with you with 40 and 50 million. That is too much. But 19 goals last season, if I remember correctly, not a single penalty. Mm-hmm. And that was in a Brentford team. And then obviously you look at it, he's going to have a Kudus, he's going to have a Maddison. Hopefully he will have a Gibbs-white. Who knows if Sonny's still here on the left wing or another left winger is brought in. I really do think he could do something. And the same with, like you said, with Solanke. I think Solanke, when he actually gets the service, and if he is kept in the box like Brentford did with Tony, he could have a good season. But we're in Champions League football. We're about to play in 4 competitions. Does Wissa, Solanke, Richarlison, Solanke and Richie scream Champions League strike force? No, not really. But around the 30, 35 million... Like I said, if you go get a young striker, Simeon, then they've got to adapt to the Premier League. Have they done anything in the Premier League? And I think the star quality with this one is obviously he will come in and know exactly what Frank wants, do exactly what Frank does, and that could be a godsend for us. But like you said, if it was 50 million, no.
I wouldn't say. I'm not saying young striker. I'm just saying younger, maybe around 23. 24 kind of age bracket. Maybe someone like a Callum Wendo from Rennes. Like, he's a bit younger. He scored, I think, 17 in Ligue 1 last season, and so he's proven he can, a good goal scorer in a good league, and he might be a similar price, and he's got a bit more longevity about him. But he's not Prem proven, would obviously be the drawback. Yeah. But if you're spending bigger money, then you might as well go for someone, I think, a bit younger potentially than Wissa. But look, if we end up spending 4 million, look, it's not my money. If they want to do that, I don't really care that much. I'm just saying, I don't think 40 million for Wissa's the smartest piece of business, but I do like him. And I think he would add something different to the squad. I completely agree. And I also think him and Solanke, let's say we play that 5-3-2 that Brentford like to play, him and Solanke up front in a partnership, I think could be really interesting.
Yep.
I think because they offer something completely different, very similar to his partnership with Tony as well when they played that at times. So I like Wissa. Also, I do think it's definitely dependent on Richarlison leaving there. I can't see all three of them in the squad together. It's an interesting one, Richarlison, because I think Frank's going to like him. I think Frank's going to appreciate him as a striker. Now, as Tottenham fans, and what we've seen from him over the last 3 years is we know he can't stay fit. It's been a big issue of his. And we can't seem to trust that he's going to get the required time on the pitch to make a difference. We've also seen when he has been on the pitch, he has been quite good. I think we can all agree on that. I wouldn't say he's been incredible, blown anyone away, but I think he's been a pretty decent Premier League striker when he's been on the pitch. His goal-scoring record, I think, someone showed a few days ago, it's up there when it comes to minutes per goal. It's up there with the very best over the last 2 years. But I guess a lot of that is down to the little minutes he's played. But obviously, whenever he's been on the pitch, he's scored goals regularly. I think we could all agree on that. So if Frank looks at the situation and looks at Richarlison and says, you know what, I really like him, and I think I could back myself to keep him fit, and I'm going to keep him around. Would that frustrate you, or would you be like, okay, that I'm willing to go with that?
It would frustrate me a little bit, and the only reason I say a little bit is Conte couldn't keep him fit when he was there, and Ange obviously couldn't keep him fit when he was there. So he didn't seem to have these injuries. He got a couple of injuries at Everton, and I will say the first season of Ange, around that Christmas, November to January, he was on fire. I think he was scoring pretty much a goal a game.
I think he got something like 9 goals in 10 games or something.
Something like that, or 10 and 11, whatever it may be. He was banging them in, but then of course he gets injured, and with Thomas Frank going into this, he might think he may be able to develop him and whatever, but can you take that risk on keeping him fit? That is the thing, because I do think when he is fit, he can offer us something. He does. He can be a nuisance. He can do things. But when we're talking strikers, I think we need a striker that we can depend on for fitness-wise and do the job and stay fit and bang in the goals. I don't think Richarlison is exactly ruthless, is he? We need a ruthless predator in that box to get the goals. And I don't think Richie's that. But then you add the element of trying to keep him fit, which is a huge issue. Unfortunately, it's the biggest issue. So if we could get Richie out, I would take him just because of the injuries. If we knew he'd stay fit all season or a majority of the season, then that's a tougher question for me. But we can't keep him fit.
Would you be surprised if Frank decided to keep him? Would that shock you, or do you think, Frank's the thing is with Frank, he's got a lot of decisions to make, doesn't he, on a lot of players, and a lot of these players are players that probably would all have started for his Brentford team. So he's got a lot of players here who he's probably, the talent he's managing, he's probably never seen in his time in management in terms of being able to choose from this level of talent. And he's going to have to cut players that, some players he's going to have to cut are probably some of the best players he's ever managed. So it's a interesting dynamic. It is.
But you look at it, he's got a lot of decisions to make, and we're down to 39 days for him to make them.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the second game, and I think this brings a lot into it, in all honesty. But yeah, he has got some big decisions to make. There are players,
especially if we want to bring in more players as well. That's even more players we're going to have to get rid of. Exactly,
and the days are clicking. The days are going past, aren't they? Like I said, what is it? 49 days, 39 days now. So it's just over 5 weeks.
It's mad. We're talking about one hell of a clear out. We're talking about potentially over 10 players leaving this club.
Yeah.
And not 10 players like giving them away like we did with Dyer and Lloris and like cancelling contracts and things like that. These are players we're going to have to get decent fees for a lot of them if we're going to justify getting rid of them. Or they're going to be left out of the Champions League squad. I mean, I don't know how we're going to do it.
Well, Sim, you've talked about players going out by selling them. We've also got loans.
Yeah.
Where players are going to get out. It's like, right, who are we sending out? So, like we said, Thomas Frank is got a few weeks now to realise what he wants, what he needs, and who he doesn't want. And we've got to get a wriggle on and support him.